folks, good evening. My name is Shadron Collins. I'm the CEO for Youth Business Trinidad and Tobago. And thank you for being here and thank you for being on time as well. And to respect that time, we're going to get kick-started in this pivotal conversation that we want to have for Global Entrepreneurship Week. Now, this year's theme for Global Entrepreneurship Week is focused on entrepreneurship is for everyone. And that kind of reminds us that entrepreneurship, in essence, is an opportunity, right? And it's an opportunity to empower the innovative minds of young persons, any age as well, to build, create, and grow businesses. And at YBTT, we've seen firsthand through our many surveys that one of the main challenges that entrepreneurs have, and the greatest challenge that they have and they face, is access to funding. Now, we started this journey back in June together with EXIMBANK, doing some workshops around helping entrepreneurs grow. So we covered marketing, we covered digital, and we covered exporting. And we saved this important conversation where we needed to bring in some reinforcements, right, to help us navigate this conversation. So today, the panel is going to give you some insights, strategies. They're going to talk about their experiences. We have from banking institutions, we have from entrepreneurs, we have some investors as well. That's going to kind of give you some insights in terms of how to navigate this world of entrepreneurial funding. So with that, and that's my little space to make sure that we have a little time for persons to come in. But please, in the chat, as if you can do it right now, please kind of let us know, where are you in terms of your business right now? Are you a startup? Are you someone who has a growth stage? Are you someone in the first 2 years in business? In the chat, let's feel free to let us know where you are and what stage in business you're in. All right, so feel free to message in the chat. You should be able to do that now. All right, first 2 years, startups. Right, so keep it going, right? We have 100 plus persons online. We're expecting a couple more persons. So you see that we have a heavy startup. So as you're going to talk about whether it be your first loan or talking that first conversation with an investor or looking for funding to expand, we're going to have that kind of conversation. So I'll leave you in good hands, the man in charge of having that conversation with you. Ronald Carter, and one of our directors here at YBTT. For how many years now, Ron? It's been a while. All right, too much to count. All right, so Ron, I want to pass on to you to navigate the conversation.
Thank you, Shadron, and good afternoon to all. Really a pleasure to have all of you join us on this very, very important topic. So really today for our conversation, I'm fortunate to have 4 other colleagues with me to really help in that conversation. So just, a little bit of background myself. I am an entrepreneur. I'm a banker, investment manager. I've been CEO of a couple banks in Trinidad and Tobago regionally. I've been CEO of financial institutions in the region and in North America. And I love the space. I'm very passionate about helping people grow their personal wealth as well as, and that includes business. So this conversation is exactly what I love doing. So let me start by introducing my fellow panelists, and I'm going to start with Keegan. So Kieran Valley-Gordon. Kieran has spent a number of couple of decades in corporate and investment banking. Kieran is the co-founder of Inspire Capital Solutions, and she's focused on making flexible financial tools available for MSMEs and women-led business to help them scale sustainably. Thank you and welcome, Kieran. Next, we have Tricia Bissoon-Pollard, and Tricia is the manager for the Center of Business Innovation at Republic Bank. And we just learned that Tricia is known as the SME girl in Republic. So you've got the one talking to you tonight. And Tricia has been in banking, brings over 25 years of experience in banking, and is very passionate about building the SME space. Next, we have Keegan Bharath, and Keegan's the Marketing and Research Officer at the EXIMBANK. And Keegan has responsibility for client onboarding, promoting brand awareness through marketing efforts, and supplying intelligence to the Office of the CEO. Next, last and certainly not least, we've got David Thomas. David is a successful entrepreneur. He is one of the co-founders of the Market Movers, which was established in 2009. And might I throw in a little thing there, David, that Market Movers is an alumnus of YBTT. So just a little plug for us. So happy to have David with us, and David is very passionate about agriculture, supporting and developing the local agricultural sector, and all the way through to getting that on the table and eating healthy. So welcome, and thank you again, panelists, for agreeing to spend some time with us tonight. So members, team, I'm going to ask sort of each panelist to really open with a short introduction, just to give a little bit more about themselves and their businesses, and just sort of, providing the context for the conversation. So we will start with Kieran, and we will go around the table, and then we will get into, an open discussion today. So Kieran, you want to kick it off?
Certainly, and thank you, Ron, and of course, thank you, YBTT team for facilitating this important conversation and for inviting me to participate in it. And so, Ron, actually, rather than speaking about myself, what I do want to do is do a little bit of, I guess, context setting, and perhaps share something that the business owners that have joined us here today may not be too familiar with, or if you have heard of it, just give a little bit more information on it. And so we know that finding funding, as the topic of this conversation here this evening, is challenging. A survey that was recently reported by Compete Caribbean suggested that 65% of businesses in Trinidad and Tobago were credit constrained. And that credit constraint could mean that either they were not able to access funding at all, or they were not able to access the full amount that they would have sought. And so we know that it's a challenge. And what I want to do with my time today is speak a little bit more and not focus so much on debt and equity that we typically speak about when we're talking about finding funding, but introduce you and invite you to expand your perspective to consider alternative options. And so I'm going to speak about invoice factoring. And invoice factoring is a possible solution if you are a business that provides goods or services to other businesses on credit terms. And so what that means is that you provided a good or provided a service, and your clients take 30 or up to 120 days in instances to pay you for that good or service that you have provided. So you have cash locked up in that invoice that could actually be used to deploy back into your business to generate revenue and to facilitate growth. And so what invoice factoring is that an entity that's called a factor would purchase that unpaid invoice and give you cash, and that factor would wait to collect the cash from your clients. So just very briefly, how invoice factoring works: you have an invoice that hasn't been paid, you're waiting for your credit term to elapse to get paid. You offer that invoice for sale to a factor. The factor does their credit checks on your clients and determine if they want to accept that invoice. And if they do, you can receive up to 90% of the value of that invoice upfront. That factor then waits so that you're no longer waiting that 90-day, 120-day period to collect. You have those funds, the factor waits, they collect directly from your clients. And then once they have collected from your clients, they would deduct a small fee, they would deduct the balance that they've already advanced to you and remit the rest to you. And so, I mean, why would MSMEs choose invoice factoring as a possible solution? Firstly, you're unlocking cash that already belongs to you. right? So it's an alternative potentially to other working capital or other short-term loans because it's cash that already belongs to you. You're selling an asset that you own, so there's no additional debt that comes onto your balance sheet. And it's flexible funding, meaning that you can use it for whatever business purpose you need. You can use it to pay salaries, to buy inventory, or to take advantage of growth opportunities. And so just very quickly, questions that you may want to consider, and we can speak about this more in the panel discussion to determine if invoice factoring could be a good fit. Well, first of all, just backing up, do you sell to other businesses? Do you sell on credit terms? That's the basic. And could you use that cash more quickly than it is currently being remitted to you because of the credit terms? Could you deploy that cash? Otherwise, could it possibly replace working capital or other debt financing that you currently are availing yourself of? Do your customers pay generally within their invoice time? Are they dependable? Would you prefer to not be running down payments and focusing on your business and let the factor run down those payments for you? And lastly, do the benefits of all of the above outweigh the costs of the invoice factoring? And so very briefly, the bottom line is that we tend to focus on debt and equity. Those are what we're most familiar with as funding options. Alternative solutions could be more flexible, could be a quicker solution, and could be easier to access. And so Inspire is launching in 2025 to add to the funding landscape. We will offer flexible financing solutions to support businesses. Some of the products that we'll be offering are working capital, unsecured short-term loans for the managing of day-to-day operations, invoice factoring, which we just discussed, and flexi-pay loans, which are geared for high-growth potential businesses. And so my contact information is on the screen. I'm happy to connect. And if you were to go to our website and select Learn More, you can sign up and indicate interest in any of those potential funding options. I think I stuck with the 5-minute run.
Okay. No, brilliant. And, you know, Kieran, thank you for that, because, you know, and I want to make the point that as we sort of think through and listen tonight, you know, and I think, you know, and it's great, you know, I saw in the chat startups growth phase. So again, you know, the understanding of where we are in our business life cycle and understanding that, because very key to that is often finding the source of capital or funding, as Kieran just mentioned, that fits with where you are in your life cycle. Because, you know, and we're going to get into it, but, you know, I think and that's what we're going to hear a lot from the panel, is that on this panel here, there are, for example, different sources of funding and speaking to different types of funding. So, you know, very key to avoid frustration as someone looking for funding is understanding, you know, who are the persons that really speak to where you are in your life cycle. So thanks again, Kieran, for that. Next up, Tricia. Tell us, Tricia, our SME girl.
So thank you, Ron. So first and foremost, good evening, everyone. And thank you to the YBTT team for allowing us at Republic Bank this opportunity to join the conversation, finding funding. And of course, happy Global Entrepreneurship Week to everyone. It is really an exciting and powerful time, especially as we take into consideration this year's theme, as Ronald said. Entrepreneurship is for everyone, which means every SME and MSME can thrive as entrepreneurs. Not so, Ron? So, I belong to the Center for Business Innovation, which is a very, very new unit at Republic Bank. It was actually formed in 2022, coming out of a need for SME financing, where we saw that this particular segment was underserved and underbanked. So what the bank did is we listened. We listened to our customers, we listened to our SMEs, and what did they see? That our products were not affordable. We offered high service fees. It was prohibitive for SMEs. It wasn't functional for day-to-day operations, nor was it efficient for their business. Republic Bank would have signed on for the principles for responsible banking in 2022, and our office is now looking at specific SDGs or Sustainable Development Goals, number 2, zero hunger, Number 8, decent work and economic growth. Number 9, focus on supporting SMEs. And 17, which is focus on partnership for the common good. So our office is really designed to build specialized packages for SMEs and MSMEs. So what does Republic Bank hope to achieve from this? We achieve addressing the limitations that the SMEs told us about, making our products more efficient, tailored to their specific needs. So what we have decided to do is not ask our SMEs and our MSMEs to meet us where we are at the bank, but we are to go to them and walk them along the journey to get them where we would like them to be. So our aim is, of course, to inspire action, to foster collaboration with the SMEs, to ensure they flourish and drive sustainability and inclusive growth. So in July of 2023, Republic Bank would have launched our bespoke package, our MSME microloan package, offering financing up to $100,000 unsecured for any MSME, whether they be startup or at their growth stage. And that could include a credit card for up to $2,500 US. The response was overwhelming. In fact, in 3 weeks, we expended $20 million. So the bank said, here's what, we're going to increase that to $50 million. Again, in March of this year, the bank added another $50 million. We went up to $100 million. As of October 2024, the bank added an additional $50 million, bringing the pool of financing for SMEs to $150 million TT dollars. And to date, we've helped approximately 1,500 MSMEs start up or level up customers, with just about half of those customers being female entrepreneurs. And the bank went a step further. We said, here's what. SMEs is a broad segment. Let's focus on the agricultural value chain, which is even more underserved than the regular SMEs. And the bank launched our agribusiness loan package for $50 million, another allocation as at May this year. We've been able to help just about 100 SMEs under the agricultural value chain. And based on the response that we've gotten, the bank has added another $20 million to that 50, ensuring that it is now increased to $70 million to focus on poultry and hydroponics, which we saw there was a need and yet no financing available through the normal channels. So the bank is listening to what our SMEs are saying, and we are developing products specifically for their needs. And that is what we do at the Center for Business Innovation at Republic Bank. And we are listening. So we would like to, this discussion is very healthy this afternoon because it will help me and my office and Republic Bank develop more products that will be suitable to their needs. So thank you very much, Ronald.
Thanks, Tricia. Very, very enlightening, and clearly you're really putting money to work. You're not just talking about supporting MSCs, but that's a substantial amount of funding that you've put towards this. So congratulations.
Ron, just to add, you just said something that rings true to us. We always say at my office, we put our money where our mouth is. And that is exactly what we are doing.
Absolutely. Not that certainly stands out. Okay, so Keegan, next up, Keegan.
Thank you very much, Ronald, distinguished panelists, YBTT General Manager, Shadron Collins, our distinguished members of the audience, entrepreneurs. The EXIMBANK is delighted to be part of this financing webinar for SMEs. And I will briefly share what the EXIMBANK is about. Great. So just a bit of history about us. So the EXIMBANK, we was formerly the Export Credit Insurance Company. We became the Export-Import Bank in 1997. We are a state enterprise wholly owned by the government of Trinidad and Tobago. We are the preferred option for export financing, and our core focus is on developing the export potential of Trinidad and Tobago as a mechanism to diversify the economy and increase non-energy foreign exchange earnings. So this is an overview of our mission, vision, our mandate. Our leadership team is headed by Mr. Navin Dukaran, Chief Executive Officer. So our business solutions are usually classified into two main segments. So we have transaction-based solutions. So these are the Forex facilities. So for manufacturers as well as for import distributors of essential items. We also have credit-based solutions. So these are loan facilities, particularly raw material financing, asset financing, factoring and discounting, and the X loan. So I'll cover a bit of the Forex facilities. Firstly, the Forex manufacturing facility. So the criteria established for this facility are for manufacturers who are currently exporting or have a confirmed export order, startups or fledgling manufacturers with a viable export plan and confirmed orders will also be favorably considered. Small, medium, and large companies which have a sound financial plan, current cash flow, and demonstrates good management with a history of exports as well. However, clients must agree to repatriate all the funds that they obtain from the exporting activity utilized through this facility, through the provision of financial records and other information the bank would consider applicable. And clients must agree to wire transfer all funds to international suppliers based on confirmed client orders or invoicing documentation. The Forex allocation system or fast essential system, another one of our Forex facilities. This facility was designed to provide much needed the financial support to importers, distributors of essential items with a view to maintaining the adequate supplies of critical consumer sensitive products. And this was developed during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, so that we will not be negatively impacted by the restrictions caused by the pandemic. And the essential items covered under this facility include food, pharmaceuticals, agri, hygiene products, and non-food. So in the public domain, the Minister of Finance earlier this month would have issued a press release indicating that the facility is back on stream because the facility was being reviewed by the Ministry of Finance, so it's back on stream at a reduced capacity, of course, because some of the items no longer applicable for consideration given the pandemic is no longer here with us. So there's a revised essential items list for importers to look at, and it's available on our website for viewing. So there's some of the credit facilities. We have the raw material financing. Due to time constraints, I will just run through some of them. The asset financing facility, the factoring and discounting facility. We heard a bit of that before. The EXIMBANK also have this facility as well, but specifically for discounting exporters' receivables. The X loan facility. This is a $30 loan with USD. Proceeds designed to assess manufacturers who need to improve their equipment and upgrade to improve the quality of their exporting products. In terms of client requirements, so we have a lot of compliance-related documentation, and also pertaining to the customer must, indicate if they have declare any politically exposed persons, bylaws, most recent return of beneficial interests, etc. Primary bank first letter, company profile, confirm export orders, etc. 3 years or more of audited financials, management accounts. Those would be for more thriving manufacturers operating more than 3 years. So the EXIMBANK advantage. So we provide a client-focused trade by finance product portfolio. We provide financial certainty and protection for exporters entering new markets. Our products improve operational efficiency through effective working capital management, and we provide the financial resources for local exporters to compete in international markets, and we create opportunities for local product or service expansion. So to book a consultation with us, you can contact our marketing manager, Mr. Sheldon Thomas, and this is his contact information. And I'll also put my email contact as well as the client onboarding officer in the chat throughout the course of the conversation. So thank you all very much. I'm looking forward to the panel discussion as we will go more in depth in some of our financing facilities.
Thank you, Keegan, and really certainly, full kudos to the EXIMBANK. I think there's no surprise. I mean, we all understand that growth in the export market is really our saving grace as a country. That is certainly what we need, and ties back in obviously to the very hot topic of FX, which is ultimately we've got to drive more exports and earn more hard currency as a nation. So thanks there, Keegan. David, tell us a little bit about you and your journey.
Yes. Hi, good evening to everyone in the audience, as well as my fellow panelists. My name is David Thomas, co-founder, hi Tricia, of The Market Movers Limited, Farm and Function Limited, and Design. I have been, myself and my business partner, Rachel Rennie, we have been in entrepreneurship for approximately 17 years now. And yes, Ronald, our first loan actually was from YBTT, and I am forever grateful to you all for giving us that leap. Because in 2009, coming up with the idea of selling produce online, was pretty far-fetched, I think, at that time. But you all took a chance on us, and I am forever grateful to that. And I think at that time, looking back at it now, the creative idea you had, because if I'm not mistaken, I put up my air conditioned unit and we should put up a laptop from college as collateral for the loan. Right. So, as a startup, you really might not have anything to go to, other financing facilities and all of that. And the thing is, so when we had that chance to do this, just put up those things and still be able to start our business. I always say that I was very creative even back then. So kudos to YBTT and for giving us that opportunity. So entrepreneurship is 50% looking for business and 50% looking for money. Because you always looking for opportunities, you're always looking for new business. But then you ask the question, okay, how am I going to do it? Where am I getting the money to pursue this opportunity? And so you're always looking for financing, looking for different ways to finance, as Kieran would have spoken about, like the invoice factoring and all of that. And so you constantly be looking at that. And as I've gone along in my journey, and I'm also happy to say that we're also a recent recipient of the Agri Loan Facility from Republic Bank, right? So as I say, we're always looking for money. But it was when I saw that instrument put out on the market, it was very appealing because, again, besides maybe just ADB, no one else was really factoring the agri sector or agripreneurship. And so I think I found that as well was seeing the landscape shifting a bit and realizing that there's new opportunities, new businesses coming up, people come up with different ideas, and people are still finding ways to access money to do it. So as I said, the journey has been wonderful for us. Coming soon to EXIMBANK, because we're also in the export field right now. And so, as I say, it's always finding ways to access money. And as you can see from, I guess, the participation, that it's always a hot topic. And entrepreneurs especially always looking for money, because sometimes the traditional avenues are not always open to us. So that has really been, looking for funding is a critical part of my journey.
Yeah, all right. Thanks, David. You know, you kind of touched on two, I think, critical things for an entrepreneur. One is tenacity. You know, the road of entrepreneur is not an easy one. And you know, you've got to be tenacious, you've got to keep looking for solutions, you know, finding you know, solving things that come up. And of course, I think the other thing that you highlighted, you know, throwing in your computer, throwing in your is bootstrapping, you know, and scaling. And that's a very, very critical sort of way of a critical thing in terms of business is understanding how to scale and how to scale effectively. So managing your variable costs versus your fixed costs, you know, very, very, very critical. So thanks, David. Okay, so great. So I think let's kind of get into the meat of the conversation. So the format. So we're going to just open up chat, go through a number of questions, share some perspectives, and then we will save about 15 minutes at the end for a formal Q&A session. So, okay, so just to kick it off, and just kind of throwing it out to the panel. You know, raising funding is, as we know, I think we've said it, one of the biggest hurdles for entrepreneurs. In your experience, what do you see as some of the most common mistakes that entrepreneurs make when approaching funding sources? And again, anyone can start.
So Ron, I'll kick in here. What we tend to see with in particular our MSME customers is that they have the vision in their mind, but they can't articulate it to the financier. So to be able to obtain funding, the people that are giving you this funding must understand your business, and they must see where the vision is going to take you. But in many instances, they don't have any financial. So the bank, Republic Bank has brought an alternative solution for financing. But I'm just saying generally, if you go to a commercial bank other than Republic Bank, you'll have to have financials. SMEs generally don't. They don't have a business plan, and they have their vision in their mind, but they can't articulate it. So for us, those are the biggest hurdles we see when MSMEs come to us financing. They have their business plan, but it's here. And they aren't able to articulate it. They don't have financials, but we have put things in place to say, okay, you don't have financials, we'll have alternatives such as bank statements, receipts, and those sort of things. But generally, that's it for us.
I might want to add to that. Touching on what Tricia just said there, one thing I've learned that is critical as an entrepreneur, especially in the growth phase, and you're looking for bigger finance and all that, is yes, having compliance and getting to know your books, getting your financials, starting to understand your financials, because sometimes money coming in, money going out, and you're not really taking the time to really understand where it's going and the flow and all of that. So that has been a critical lesson for us. Understanding, getting to know, be very intimate with your financials and understand it. It's going to make your attempt at seeking financing much easier and make the process so much more rewarding.
One thing I will add as well is lumping all the types of financing into one. So, the business may need working capital to buy inventory, but then they also need some money to buy a piece of equipment, and thinking of it all as one lump sum amount and seeking financing for that lump sum amount. Whereas those are really two different requests. Working capital financing should really be short-term and revolving, and then the equipment financing, for example, should be in line with the useful life of the equipment. And so just thinking through that and being able to break that up and then seeking the appropriate source of financing for each of those individual requests.
Just to
Yeah,
add to what Kieran said, is that she is correct. Many entrepreneurs, they don't distinguish between what exactly they need. So as Kieran said, if it is capital, they should really have a revolving facility, or as we say, an overdraft. And if it's equipment purchase, they would need more of a medium to long-term loan. And that is really a challenge to kind of bridge that gap with understanding their needs and what type of facility best suits the needs of the client. And I think that is where we, as financiers, we are supposed to sit down and talk to the customer, find out exactly what they need, and tie the purpose to the facility that they're requesting. And I mean, even the payment pattern of the facility, it should be tied to their business module, because we shouldn't have a loan if, let's say, they're purchasing equipment, we shouldn't have a loan payment monthly if the customer is receiving quarterly income. So it's very important as financiers that we understand the business module. And that's what I said initially, that the clients have the vision, they know their business, but it's here. And sometimes to articulate that to their financier, there's a challenge. And what happens, there's a mismatch between the need and the purpose of the facility and the type of facility that is given.
Yeah, I agree with what Kieran said. It is important to distinguish from where we said where you are in terms of your journey. So our specialization is in export financing. So so if businesses, they are at that stage where they have exhausted the local market and they're looking at, okay, we want to expand and grow, and they need assistance with developing an export plan, we provide that type of consultation to take them to that next level. Also, at the EXIMBANK, we work with the Trinidad and Tobago Manufacturers Association, and we have a sort of a capacity building initiative called the Export Action Program, where we work with SMEs. And at the recently Trade and Investment Convention hosted in July, we featured 10 SMEs who were part of that Export Action Program. They were, through that program, able to be featured at the Trade and Investment Convention. So apart from our financing facilities for working with budget exporters, we also do that sort of work in terms of building that capacity through one of our key stakeholders in the manufacturing sector, TTME.
So, Keegan, I'm glad you said that. So I'll jump in here, right? So at Republic Bank, we don't just give funding or financing. What we really believe in is in capacity building. So what the bank does is that once you have availed of one of our MSME or agribusiness loan, we take note of your name, and depending on which, what phase of the business you are in, we send you to seminars. We actually hosted our very first MSME Empowerment and Engagement Forum, where Rachel Rennie from Market Movers was a featured speaker there. And every month we send out our SMEs to training programs. In fact, we have a training program coming up next week with CEDA, and we have 500 entrepreneurs regionally that are going to be attending that training program. So it's not just about funding, but it's about capacity building. So I'm glad that you brought that up, Keegan.
Yeah, because at the EXIMBANK, we want to create a culture and an ethos with our entrepreneurs and businesses to be more export-oriented and export-minded. So those who are able and ready to export come to us for the financing. Those who are on the journey, or those who they need some assistance. Also through this initiative, through working with YBTT, we also want to educate and create that export-oriented mindset. As we are aware, there's a huge demand currently for foreign exchange. So part of our role is to let us build a culture in our business community towards let's go towards trying to generate foreign exchange, how we could expand out of Trinidad and Tobago and reach new heights, reach new markets. What would it take to go to that level? And we will provide that type of consultation.
You know, I think that, and just to say that I'm hearing and sort of listening, and I'm sure that there are lots of entrepreneurs who are saying, well, listen, I'm not a finance person. How do I understand, finance? How do I understand in the options? And I think, in addition to everything that said, I think that, one is that you do need to get familiar with your numbers. I can say as an investor, I listen to lots of pitches, and, one of the first almost disqualifying factors are people that come and pitch that really don't know their own numbers. So know your numbers, know your business, know your sales, know your margins, understand your business. I mean, that's critical just in terms of in your journey. But as well, I think, get help where you don't, in terms of support, be it, let's say, getting, financial advice from, if you can get it again from the provider, as Tricia mentioned, or Keegan, then that's fabulous. If not, but again, understanding you may not be a finance, you may be even intimidated by finance. Don't let that slow you down. Get help from whatever source you can. Let me just turn to David, and just as an entrepreneur, I mean, you live it, you live it every day. Can you share a bit about your journey towards securing funding for your business, and what was the biggest challenge, and how did you overcome it?
All right. Well, as I said before, it was knowing exactly what you wanted, and the type of financing you wanted, because as an entrepreneur, you don't want to have onerous financing that's going to, almost cripple your business, like your repayment terms are too high, and because there's no stability in entrepreneurship, right? So you always have to look at the things, be able to work with the ebbs and the flows. And so you want financing that works for you. All right. So for example, with the agri loan, there's the moratorium. There are different aspects of it that can help the business gather some momentum, and then you start your payments. I would say, the journey to understand that as well was knowing how we could, who to go to as well, because I used to work at the bank, right? And I kind of understood the bank a bit, and I remember I was telling myself, like, no, let's be more familiar with the bank. Let's even though at the time they weren't really geared towards entrepreneurs, but we let them know, okay, this is what we're doing. We became friends with the people out there, and you could, and then they would start off with small loans, and that's another critical thing. Don't bite off more than you can chew. Start with small loans, understand, I say, the repayments, get that involved, make that part of your business, and try not to lapse on your payments. Because credit is everything in now. And that is, I think, that's one of the biggest challenges, because as an entrepreneur, you don't really have much of a track record. So you have to build that track record. And that's by, having good credit. And so it makes it easier to step into a financing facility, because then you have some kind of backing, and they can say, yes, we've seen you've been doing this, and you've been doing that. So now we can give you some money, and we know that you pay it back. Right? Because at the end of the day, that's what financiers want to know. And you can pay back their loans, right? So that's one thing. I would that was one of the challenges, understanding how to build what type of loan, and how to ensure that you have to build your credit.
Fully, absolutely.
I would add one thing though, Ronald. Just add one. And I think it's a very basic principle, but we've been hearing from since we're younger. Try to let your money pass through a financial institution as well. And that, again, that builds some kind of credit, and You know, I say money comes, it comes and goes, but you have to record and document that money.
Absolutely. Very, 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 very critical. You know, even though you're going to spend it right away,
Yeah.
you know, pass it through
Pass it through.
the bank, because, you know,
Let it
that's
hit
one of the
your
key
account.
ways. Exactly. And it's one of the ways that banks do an evaluation in terms of lending, is looking at, okay, well, what sort of revenue does the business generate? And that's a means of validating, just sort of looking at money flowing through. So absolutely.
Ron, can I add something here?
Yes.
To what David and yourself is saying. So yes, so it is very important that the entrepreneurs pass as much money through their account as possible. And I always tell our SMEs, deposit the money and take it right back out. Just have it entered so the bank sees that the business is making money. And notwithstanding that, and I will say with our MSME loan, even though you don't have an account with Republic Bank, and we may not see the deposits, the bank has relaxed its criteria because we are listening, as I said, to our SMEs, and you don't need to have all the money passing through. So we're going to meet you where you are, and we're going to help you and teach you about financial literacy and how important it is to pass your money through the account. So we could start you with something small. And David, even though your credit check may be a little bit shaky, we understand that with small entrepreneurs, they do have bad patches. But how do you come back from that? And the bank is willing to say, here's what, we know you had a bad patch. We saw that even though you didn't pay your loan well, at one point, you would have repaid it eventually. And let us see how we can help you come from that and become a better entrepreneur by being able to give you a small loan so that you could rebuild that credit rating. So we do help you, even though your credit record may not be sterling and it may be the best, even if it's shaky.
Let me just kind of turn to Kieran, just in the context of alternative source of funding. So, you know, private equity space, angel investing space, you know, sort of in the context of Inspire, which is to be launched. Just maybe if you could just talk a little bit about the differences between securing funding from a traditional bank versus, let's say, an alternative funding source, such as an Inspire, and sort of, you know, what does the typical private equity investor look for in a potential investment?
Sure. So those are two separate questions, actually. So I'll answer the second one first. In terms of what an equity investor would look for in a business. And I'm just going to say that Inspire is offering, I'm going to use a non-dilutive financing, which means that we're not necessarily offering equity investments. But putting on my previous hats, equity investors look for businesses that have the potential to be hyper growth. So what that means, especially for angel investors or very, very early stage investors, they're looking at businesses that can provide upwards of 10 times what they would have invested within a period of 5 to 7 years. And so the reason for that is, of course, that investing in enterprises that are brand new and have no track record is riskier than investing in a business that has some operating track record. And so early stage investors are looking for, you know, hyper growth potential businesses. And then you have private equity investors, also equity, but those investors are looking for businesses that are already operating and are seeking to grow. And so the growth could be through expansion, or it could be through, you know, if that investor comes in and they take a very active role in the business, they can potentially increase the operating efficiency of the business and then generate some return on their investment. And so what private equity investors investing in an operating business is looking for is probably somewhere between 20 and 30% annualized return on their investment. And so in both instances, they're looking for businesses that have a very strong market demand, a very strong market potential, meaning that the market, their addressable market is large, because you know, though they are taking more risk than more traditional sources of funding. And so, I mean, just really, the bottom line is that not every business is going to be a business that can take equity. And that doesn't mean that it's not a good business or not a viable business, but it is a different model. You could have a very viable business that is generating operating cash flow, sustaining yourself, employing persons, and expanding regionally, but it is not hyper growth, which is what an equity investor is looking for. Now, to answer your first question, which is what Inspire will be offering, and I was really excited, and I mean, I know what Republic has been doing, and I'm excited to hear that you are relaxing some of the criteria to be able to address the SME space, because as we see, you know, there's a very large funding gap, and we need lots of players to be able to address that gap. So Inspire is offering, and I would have mentioned briefly in the presentation, 3 primary products. Your first is your short-term working capital unsecured loan, and I stress that word unsecured because we know that collateral is a real stymieing factor, especially in the micro and small business space. And so similarly, what we will be looking at for these businesses is your cash flow. You know, these are operating businesses. As David would have mentioned, let that money go through your bank account so that we can see and we can assess your debt service capacity. I saw there was a question in the chat about how much debt a business should take on. And the answer is it depends. But essentially, you want to ensure that your debt service ratio, which is effectively how much you have to pay every month versus how much you take in, is your capacity to pay every month versus how much you have to pay is over 1. So you want a debt service ratio that is, you know, 1.5 or higher, and that means that you bring in much more cash than you have to pay in debt, right? And so that calculation is going to vary depending on your business and depending on your cash flow. So that's your working capital loan, of course, invoice factoring that we would have gone through in some detail. And then our alternative to equity run for high growth potential businesses or seasonal businesses, because as Tricia mentioned, it doesn't make sense having a fixed repayment schedule when the business's cash flows are not coming in on a fixed monthly basis, for example. And so we have a flexi pay loan offering that is basically tied to the revenue that the business earns. So you have the flexibility. Some months, if you earn less, you'll pay less. If you earn more, you'll pay more until you get to the amount that we would have pre-agreed that you would repay. And so we really, and to couple with that, again, we recognize that capacity building, even networking, are all things that are required to support the entrepreneur and support the ecosystem. We are offering all of these products generally to MSMEs, but we're doing it with a gender intelligent focus. And what that means is that we recognize that women in particular have different and unique challenges when it comes to accessing financing, when it comes to access to markets, access to networks, to some level skill building. And I would dare say that it's not necessarily that there's a difference in skill between male and female entrepreneurs, but there's a difference in confidence between male and female entrepreneurs. And so all of that is part of the Inspire offering. So it's really a very holistic package that we'll be coming to market with.
No, excellent. And as you said, Kieran, I think, you know, the more players we have in the space, absolutely the better for the whole ecosystem.
I just want to jump in to support a point that Kieran said. I think it's important for a lot of our SMEs and those who want to learn from other established businesses and mentors to tap into some of the business support organizations that are out there. And the EXIMBANK, within the exporting ecosystem, we support those organizations like the TT Chamber, the American Chamber, the Coalition of Services Industries, TTCSI, and a lot of these organizations have programs and initiatives geared towards supporting a lot of SMEs developing like networking sessions, etc.
I want to add to what Kieran and Keegan said as well. I'm not sure if for the female entrepreneurs that they're aware that we have a training program called the Entrepreneurial Business Builder Program, or EBB, and it's geared towards female entrepreneurs. And we host that throughout the Caribbean region. And once you're a Republic Bank customer, you can be nominated to attend that training. And it's usually like 3 to 6 months. And they teach you how to do like a business plan, marketing, and just general training on building your business. And that is very, from what I've heard, we're on the 3rd cohort, and it has been very, very groundbreaking for these female entrepreneurs. And they also have pre-approved access to financing at Republic Bank. Once they complete the program, they are pre-approved for an overdraft, a loan, and even a credit card to level up their business. So we have been working with females as well, and we continue to listen. So which is why I'm again saying how happy we are to be part of this panel.
Tricia, that's a very, very interesting program. I mean, would love if you could share in the chat, maybe, you know, a link to get some more information on that.
Ron, I'll do so. It could be found on our website, but I'll share the website address.
Yeah. So just a question, Keegan, for you, you know, talking about if you could just give us a little sense. You know, EXIMBANK plays a crucial role in supporting businesses looking to expand outside of Trinidad. How do you assess sort of the viability of the business for export and financing? You're on mute, Keegan.
Yeah, thanks very much. So a consultation is important because we have to examine each business on a case-by-case basis. So let's say a startup operating probably 1 to 2 years have interest in exporting. They have been operating in local market. A consultation on developing an export plan would be necessary, and that will give us an idea in terms of the type of financing arrangement we could apply to that particular business. Businesses that already operating more than 3 years, they're established, audited financial accounts, and let's say they already did exporting already, and they have like CARICOM invoices to support that, and they need access to more foreign exchange because they need to buy, you know, raw materials, and they're getting problems from commercial banking. Because the EXIMBANK, we are mandated to support companies in the non-energy sector. That policy is designed to help our exporters with access to that foreign exchange. And we at the EXIMBANK, we don't give our clients the foreign exchange directly. We pay the supplier directly, and our client pay us in TT dollars. So we pay them in the foreign currency, and our client pay us in TT dollars.
So in terms of the facility, and so you've got the essentials, you know, is there any sort of criteria? So once you fit the essentials bucket, is there any sort of further criteria that's used to evaluate who can get that FX support?
Okay, so the Fast Essential program, so let's give you a little bit of context on it. So as of August 31st, 2024, we have supported 110 importers who have access a total of US $1.18 billion to import and distribute food, pharmaceuticals, sanitary products, personal protective equipment, and other essential supplies through that special window. So as I would have indicated in my presentation, the Minister of Finance would have issued a press release on the 3rd of November indicating that the forest window has resumed. So it was under review for a few months prior, around the time of the budget. So they were looking at given the issue that the pandemic is over, they need to revise the items on the list. So the list was revised, and effective November 1st, the facility is back on board, and the revised list is published on our website. And the key areas for import distributors that are looking to need access to foreign exchange to supply local market within the food sector, pharmaceuticals, agri, hygiene products, and non-food items. And again, the full list is very exhaustive. I don't want to go into calling out each of the items at those areas. That it's there available on our website. And once they meet that criteria in terms of some of the client requirements I would have shared through the website in terms of some of the compliance related documentation, the payables, invoicing payables, etc. that we needed, the audited accounts or management accounts they need to be ICAT certified preferably. Our credit team will review, and once they are successful, they'll be onboarded onto the facility.
Yeah, so I mean, it goes without saying that the need for FX by entrepreneurs is a very topical issue, and certainly any support there and clarity, so I appreciate that clarity. I mean, that's certainly something that's critical. Just in terms of just kind of throwing
just to add in something, also on the public domain as well, the Minister of Finance indicated that he'll be having discussions with some of the business support organizations to work on developing a solution to that particular challenge that we are well aware a lot of our businesses are having, because our facilities are streamlined, primarily to support the exporters and those who import any essential items. But we are aware there's another sector that need access to US, and I believe that the business chambers, along with the Minister of Finance, they will be meeting to discuss a solution on that.
Yeah. Okay. No, thank you. So let me just kind of jump to, again, just open it up to all panelists. When we look sort of at the future, what do you see as some of the biggest trends in entrepreneurship funding right now? And are there any emerging sources of funding capital that you think that entrepreneurs should pay attention to? And just to throw, all sorts of things in the mix, you've got emergence of in larger markets, fintech, you've got crowdfunding, you've got all sorts of things on the larger market. So just kind of in a home context, looking forward, what do you see as some of the biggest trends in terms of funding?
So I don't mind starting, and we are seeing a few fintech firms coming up. And when I say fintech, our infrastructure unfortunately does not yet allow for true fintech. We don't have open banking. What that means is that we can't access bank statements of other banks unless the client brings it in or sends it via PDF. In UK and the US and these developed markets, you can give someone access to your bank accounts to enable the credit adjudication process to be a lot quicker. So what we have right now is, I guess, tech-enabled banking, which is fine, but we are seeing a few more of those players. And then, not to beat what might be a dead horse, but I was going to mention again, invoice factoring is a really viable solution that's non-debt. It's not a debt solution for businesses that have accounts receivables on their balance sheet. You can convert that to cash. And so that is something that it does occur in Trinidad and Tobago, but in very small pockets. I know it occurs in Jamaica, again, in very small pockets. But I think that is something that with market education could really take off. And then lastly, we are seeing a little bit of an increase in the tech startup environment across the region. We have players such as Draper Startup House. I know we have Techstars. We have a few other players that are supporting technology startups. And so if any of the participants on the call that, that falls in your garden, those are sources that you could look for support in that regard.
All right, well, I will go next. So in terms of trends, well, export credit, there are other export credit agencies is a worldwide phenomenon. So different countries will have export credit agencies depending on what type of mandate they want to pursue with respect to the developing the export potential of the particular country. But one particular trend that as a researcher that I have noticed is that we are seeing a lot of financing for sustainable development type of products. So these countries, through their export credit agencies, are providing incentivized based sort of funding for companies in their countries who are as part of, for instance, the renewable energy sector in terms of developing projects and getting favorable financing, because based on the global goals with respect to reducing our carbon footprint, etc. States around the world are trying to incentivize some of our companies to tap into renewable energy types of projects so that the countries could reduce our dependence on fossil fuel, which is over time seems to be a depleting resource due to less investment in the sector and the need for us to increase in terms of renewable sources of energy. Now, bringing it back home to the EXIMBANK and locally, about a month ago, we would have announced and it's publicly available that we signed US $35 million loan agreement with the Latin America and with the Development Bank of Latin America and the Caribbean, or CAF, to expand our service offerings to some new sectors. And this will be coming on stream in 2025. And these new sectors include the creative sector, the ICT sector, and renewable energy. So, and the name of this fund will be the Catalytic Fund. And this will enable export-oriented companies in both the manufacturing and the services sector to access financial support to generate increased exports and earn more foreign exchange. So, so based on the portfolio we have right now, we can see that EXIMBANK, through that provision of that funding, we are going on that trend of expanding our service offering to new dynamic sectors. We are aware that the creative sector is dubbed the orange economy, and the ICT and the renewable energy. So we will be tapping into those sectors and developing our product portfolio offerings in 2025 and beyond. So look forward to that.
So hi again. So just to add to what Kieran and Keegan said, is that whilst our culture generally doesn't or isn't readily acceptable to equity financing, what we have seen is that small businesses are more inclined, especially with the IPO that went out for Solace recently, for equity financing. I mean, our small businesses, they protect their intellectual property, yes, but equity financing, where they give up a small portion of the profits or the business ownership, we see that there's a trend going into that direction. And I believe that once we create that sort of web for them, that ecosystem, equity financing will be something that is going to be readily acceptable in Trinidad and Tobago. Maybe within the next 5 to 10 years, we will see more of that. And as Keegan said, you know, we are looking at the orange economy as a bank as well. And we have even branched off in the agricultural sector, as David and others will know. And we are looking at We are listening at this point as to how we can help and what other sectors that can go into what type of additional funding. But equity financing for us, we are seeing that there is a trend towards that with our MSMEs.
All right, so I saw a comment in the chat asking a question with respect to EXIMBANK, and somebody indicating that it seems as though we don't support farmers or agro processors. So I want to respond to that. So as I would have mentioned, the fast essential facility. So those who in the agricultural sector who are importing food items or agri related items, like for instance, if they herbicides, seeds, crop protection, chemicals, etc. You can get access to foreign exchange to pay your suppliers through our fast essential facility. So, and also if you are agri processor and you looking to export, of course we need to know what stage you all are at. You will need access to forex to buy raw materials, etc. That would more in line with our forex manufacturing facility. So I'm just responding to that particular query in the chat.
If you know, Keegan, I actually have a question to you as an agro processor that exports, right? Is it that do you all provide, let's say I want to buy some equipment, you all provide loans for that, or do you all just provide the access to the forex in terms of for purchase?
Yeah, we have a loan facility for them. So that I think that's the X loan. So if you need to upgrade equipment, right? It's an equipment upgrade. The X loan.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. So we will pay the supplier the equipment in US dollars, and you pay us the loan proceeds in TT dollars.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's our X loan facility.
Okay, no problem.
Right. When I see Cedron's camera come on, I know that's the time, that's the timer. The human timer.
Yeah, I just want to know that we can give the audience an opportunity, because I see they're asking some heavy questions in the chat. I think what we can do, Ron, if allows it, we can allow the audience, just raise your hand and we can unmute you from there and you can ask a question. I would just want to say 3 things. So get your questions ready. One, can I be concise with your questions? You want to take as much as possible. I know with Trinidadians, you tend to tell a story that comes with a question, but keep your questions concise. Stick with the theme. We're focused on finding funding, right? So if you have questions, probably not towards the theme, but something that you want to ask the panelist itself, you can message the YBTT after, or the panelists would have indicated their email addresses in the chat. And lastly, that's going to be respectful itself in terms of the questions that you're asking. All right, so with that, Ron, I think we have a couple persons with their hands up already. All right, I'm hoping that we can get through a couple, but we'll see what happens there. And also let us know who you're directing your questions at as well. So Les, if I pronounce your name correct, yes.
Hi, good evening. Okay.
Yes, good evening.
Question may be directed at, I think the best business might be Tricia and Kieran to answer. Throughout the afternoon, I've realized that we have spoken about unconventional approaches to financing. What I'd like to know is if it's ever considered to finance licensing an idea. So, many times, you know, the whole discussion is about providing financing for a manufacturer, but can you access licensing for an idea that is supported by operating procedures, you know, and proof of concept and so on, that shows that yes, this can be done and adopted in maybe even another country, as opposed to having to manufacture and export?
So Kieran, I'll start first. So that is actually a very good question, and I'm glad that you raised it. So yes, you can obtain funding at Republic Bank for that purpose. Of course, we would need to have an understanding of what you're going to be licensing and what is going to be done, but you can avail of financing for that at a commercial bank, especially at Republic Bank. We would need to see what you're going to be licensing. We would, of course, need to understand, you know, all the dynamics, but it is available. So the direct answer to that question is yes, it is available at Republic Bank.
Okay, great, thank you.
Sure, and I'll answer as well. Thanks, Tricia, thanks, Les. So the short answer is yes. The longer answer is that that would likely fall under our Flexi Pay product. And then the even longer answer is that all of the due diligence requirements would, that Tricia effectively mentioned, would pertain, meaning that we would need to understand what would be happening. We would need to understand the cash flow that would be generated, and how effectively, how long it would take to repay any financing for licensing said idea. But the short answer is that our flexible pay solution is tailored to the needs of the business. And I'm just going to kind of give a broad strokes in terms of what are the minimum criteria for accessing finance from Inspire once we launch. And that is that the business would need to have been operating for a year and have cash that's deposited to the business bank account, or if you're a sole trader, to that account. So we just need to see cash flow. But then, you know, as the business is looking to grow, we would size the financing accordingly. So I hope that answers the questions generally.
Great. And I think we had Savion, if I'm pronouncing it correct. Oh, Keegan, you want to respond as well?
Yeah, I thought a query in the chat pertaining to EXIMBANK, so I want to respond to that. So the person indicated that they're operating an indoor farm and looking at grant funding opportunities if the EXIMBANK offer any of this. Well, the EXIMBANK, we don't do grant funding opportunities. So I think grant funding opportunities, you probably could look at Export TT in terms of what could they assist SMEs in certain sectors, and so I think you could look at Export TT on what they have to offer there.
Thanks, Keegan. Savion? And folks, just in case I mispronounce your name, just let me know. But Savion,
Hey, good evening, everybody. And yeah, so Savion is the pronunciation, but I won't hold that against you at all, man. So first and foremost, thank you very much to all who would have organized this panel, all who would have been present. Really, really insightful conversation. Really appreciate all that you would have shared. Special good evening to Mr. Carter as well. We've been doing well. My question, and I kind of was in two minds about after it because I kind of wondered if it was a silly question, but I don't believe it is anymore. So I mainly operate two businesses. One is both are service-based businesses, but one has a product attached to it, right? So I have a public speaking business where I have 3 brands of services, and I have hookah rental business. Now, in hookah rentals, it's easy for me to know where I can take the money towards or put the money towards. But on the public speaking side, because I do event hosting and because I do workshops and because I do advertising, it hasn't been always very clear to me if I am accessing funding, what would I really use the funding for? So my question is then, in people who have service-based businesses or where the person is the product, what have you seen to be the best investment of funds to help that type of business? And that could be to anybody.
So Savion, I'll answer here, and I hope I have it right. For service-based businesses, the business is you. So the investment would be, of course, into development for yourself because you do public speaking. So if you need to do any educational courses, we would look at funding for that. So that it builds capacity for the business because you are the business. So I hope that answers your question.
It does, but so is that something that if I put that on a plan, that is justifiable? Because I mean, funny enough, I actually hosted a mix and mingle session in the MSME program that you spoke about, that the bank had.
So
I hope
Savian, I
so.
remember who you are now. So yeah, that's why your name is so familiar. So yes, you can put pen to paper. You can come to the bank and say, okay, I need to do XYZ course. It is going to build this capacity for me. And coming out of that, I should be able to get ABC. So I will build capacity.
Fantastic.
It gives me some training course in public speaking. So therefore I will be able to host events better. The bank will look at those things because we understand with service-based industries, there's going to be a different way we have to view the business. The business is you, Savian.
Great. Thank you so much.
Savian, in terms of your public speaking business, what is your ultimate goal? Are you seeing yourself as a consultant who want to reach you want to reach clients internationally?
Yes, for sure. So the
Right.
vision for myself, short answer.
Yeah. Well then you will need to invest. I'm not too sure if you already have done already in terms of like website development. Because at the international level, as a service-based business, having a website as your go-to page is an important thing. And also, if you want to work with some clients already in terms of if they have like testimonials, they have cases of persons who would have helped and they would have assisted, putting that on your website to market on your website is also good in terms of building that awareness, because you have actual cases of persons who would have assisted and you have your contact information. And so I advise get in with somebody who could assist you with website development. Clients that you would have worked with, get some testimonials. Also, as a service-based business, try to get yourself listed on the TTCSI as a national exporters portal, which places your business on a portal to access globally. So you can contact the TTCSI about that, the Toronto Coalition of Service Industries, about being on their national services exporters portal.
And I think I'll just add a last little bit in terms of, especially as a service-based business, you can start thinking about developing your own products, whether it be training courses around public speaking, training packages, and those aspects, which can actually be products that you can use to grow. Because it's not always about you being the business, but how can you grow the business beyond you as well? Right, thanks. Savian?
Thank you. Yes, man.
Right, second time to jump. Next, we have Andrew. Feel free to unmute your mic, Andrew.
Hello, good night.
Yes.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for taking the question. I'll be very specific with what I would like to do. So I have a land which I cleared, but I want to make it into a facility, right? Mainly sporting activities, so a turf field and stuff like that, you know. People come and rent it out, like they have a couple throughout the country, like Ballpark, for instance, but more Savannah side. What I want to know what's the best way and like a step-by-step way to do it. And the land is in my mother's name. So the whole mortgage in the land to get it done and thing, that's out of the question. So another route, it could be collateral, it could be funds, it could be no collateral. What's the best way? But step by step, I would like you to walk me through it, not just if you understand what I'm saying. Because I've been calling banks, I've been asking questions, and the answers I've been getting haven't been helpful. So hopefully this panel, one of you all could assist me in facilitating my dream, you know?
So Andrea said that the property is in your mom's name, but a mortgage is impossible. Can you kind of explain why you say a mortgage is impossible? Because the land is in your mom's name?
Yes, the land is in my mom's name. So I proposed to her, you know, mortgage the piece of land and I would pay it back and stuff like that. But she is very old-timeish, where she saw couple families in the past where they had a big fight over land and stuff like that, so she just rather not get involved.
But the property that you're going to build this field on, is it the same property that is in her name?
It's same property. So I have permission to use, but not permission to to mortgage the land, if that makes sense.
All right, so the thing is though, Andrew, the answer to your question is not going to be short. That is going to be a lengthy dialogue. And I don't think we have that time. So I'm not sure if you could email me tomorrow and maybe we could connect. I'll call you and we could probably discuss offline if that is okay with you.
That's fantastic if possible.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I don't know if any of the panelists want to address it in a quick way or anything like that, or take it offline. Right, thanks, Andrew. So Louis Patterson, right? Next question.
Hi, good night to you all, everybody.
How do you pronounce your first name? And then make sure I can get Lennis, right? I had that in my mind. I was just making sure. Go ahead, ask the question.
So this is actually to Tricia or even to the next banker, which is Keegan, in terms of basically what are the requirements for in terms of, so what it is that I have a business. I was in business in 2018 and then COVID came and I had to close, and the rest is history. So I want to start back, and the funding that I had in 2018 is no longer available because it was my funding and my business partner's funding in terms of our retirement money and my general funds in a sense. So we no longer have that available in a sense. So I just want to find out in terms of what would be my process in terms of getting funding to start back the business, seeing that I don't have the financials and etc. What you need to have in terms of to present to the bank and stuff. What would be my approach and in terms of starting back the business? So that's what I wanted to find out.
All right, so it's Lennis. I hope I have that.
Lennis. Yes.
So yes, so Lennis, I'll start. So our MSME or microloan is exactly the type of facility that is set up for entrepreneurs like yourself who is restarting or at a startup phase. So what you would need to do is you can visit any one of our branches. What we would need to get from you is a cash flow projection. And because we've relaxed criteria, you would not need to present a business plan unless you already have one done up. And once you speak to one of our commercial team members, they would be able to guide you through the process. So really, it would be the compliance documents, your ID, utility bill, regular compliance things, completing some bank forms, and your cash flow projections, telling us what the business is about, your customer base. So it's a very, very simple process, and you can access financing up to $100,000 unsecured. So I suggest if you can, you could shoot me a private message and I'll take your information and I'll have one of my branches call you as soon as possible.
Perfect, yes, no problem. And the section that deals with that is?
It's all of our branches. We have 30 locations nationwide. And once you go into the branch, you go to our commercial department and anyone there will be able to assist you.
Okay, but I'll send you the email. I'll send you the private message, no problem.
Okay, good. And I'm not sure if Keegan has anything to add.
Yeah, well, in our case, it would be, I'm not sure what type of business it is, but in our instance, for a startup, they have to be a business that is manufacturing. And once if they're out for some while and they start to back up, once they have an export plan, and if they have export orders, then we could work with them.
And I guess, David, I don't know if you can answer that. If you had to think about market movers starting up now, where are you going to look for? Where are you going to approach for funding now? If you were starting up, what type of funding would you suggest? Yeah, let's unmute your mic as well. Unmute your mic.
Yeah, it would have been a toss-up between Kieran and Tricia would have been my go-tos because as I say I think especially they both have very attractive packages. Right. I think more so Republic might have been the go-to because of that the unsecured facility, and I mean up to 100,000. I mean, we started our business with $10,000. Right, so we had very severe bootstrapping to do, but so I say, but that was what was available, right? So now there's more options. So I think I would lean towards Republic in terms of the MSME loan that would have been suited to market movers. There was a farm and function, I think I would have gone to Inspire because of the invoice factoring. That would have worked for us.
And I find you watch why it's still hard when it's 10,000. It's okay. Folks, I know we have a lot of persons that have questions. I'm going to just take two more. So Christopher and Honesty, I'm just going to take you because I know it's 7:30. So panelists, allow me to just at least take two more questions if you can. So Christopher, I don't know if you could unmute your mic and ask your question from there.
All right, good night, everybody. Good night to the panel. Christopher here. Well, I raised my hand late because it's a question for what's happening Tuesday. If you could shed some more light on what's happening Tuesday and parking arrangements and things like that. I see a couple of you will be attending, Mr. Shadran and Ms. Tricia. So if you can shed some more light and
well, Christopher, it's Global Entrepreneurship Week, so you have to be a little bit more clear. I mean, which event on Tuesday?
Okay, well, I just got an email from the Central Bank Auditorium. That's all I have on my.
Oh, that's Trinidad and Tobago Entrepreneur Hub, right? So you can look for them on Facebook and just send them a message. I think Shem's in the chat as well. So I know Shem is still here. If you could send him a contact from there. But that's their event. Right? I think I'm speaking at that event.
Because when I signed up for that, I actually got the invitation for this on the chat. So it seems like it seems like one thing to me, but I didn't realize it's
Global Entrepreneurship Week. We have 40 events this month. So when it's a bit Thursdays, it's a bit confusing sometimes. Right? But check out Trinidad and Tobago Entrepreneurship Hub. You can see them on Facebook. Just direct message them there, and you should be able to get some more information about the parking and those things as well. Right? And if you see Shem anyway, Shemian in the chat, anyway, you can give us some more information. So he's across there as well.
Well, I just want to say I'm new to the community. I was invited by someone else, and I have a lot to offer. I'm looking forward to networking and share what it is that I do.
Nice. Right, great. Thanks, Christopher. Right. Honesty? Yeah.
Hi, good night.
And I only know the name because it's one of our entrepreneurs as well. Go ahead. Yes.
Good night, everyone. So basically my question, I'll just start quick, try to be as brief as possible. So I am a massage business, mobile massage, and like recently have been shifting my business the way I wanted to go, the direction. I want to focus more on corporate clients and offering a certain type of service to them. And what I just made some points here, and it was just basically, what are the opportunities? Because I saw you made mention of opportunities for women, and I all of this is new to me because I had the opportunity to go to the AmCham conference last week, and it was really eye-opening because I realized there's a lot of things I did not know and things that were available to me, right? So where can I go to get more information on that, even in terms of funding and getting mentors and investors and all of that? And also one of the things that I also wanted to look at is, yes, I'm a massage business, and I offer service, but I also offer products too. So I would like to look at foreign investment as well. And I'm seeing there's someone here in the group chat who is one of my past clients. So yeah, so they could speak for the service that I offer as well. But yeah, that's basically my questions in a nutshell. If anybody could direct me on where to start.
Yeah. Well, I want to commend you for because I made the point earlier, the importance of the person, especially in the services sector, to be part of these types of business support organization and tender event, because it would build your capacity in some networking. And also it seems as though you have to have a particular target clientele in mind. So you need to know which spaces that they frequent. And so you could position yourself to advertise on your service. So I think continuing that in that momentum and looking at the other business support groups that I mentioned earlier, what product you said you're looking at for what particular product that is?
Okay, so we make our own massage oil and we try to focus on using sustainable products. It would be a lot of stuff that we use traditionally, we would have grown up using, our parents would have used nutmeg and clove and bay leaf and that sort of thing, ginger. So we would do our own infusions and we try to tailor to meet the needs of our clients. So what I would do is usually give someone a sample, or I sell them at pop-up shops or something, but I would like the idea of investing more into it and making it a brand to send to at least regionally, probably to spas or even hotels, spas or anything like that. Because I see there's a good opportunity for that. Because a lot of times whenever we go to a spa, it's some foreign oil they're using. When you have something that you can actually brand as your own, this is Trinidad, this is a cocoa oil, it has benefits even from a sustainable side. It have a lot of byproducts that we would just throw away that have the same essential vitamins, like when you make chocolate and you throw the hulls, it has research that those hulls themselves have key properties. And if you look, it has some places around the world that actually do make that sort of thing, but we have it here and we just throw it away, so that's why I see there's a lot of opportunity to market something like that. The massage industry is growing and it's not just from a spa setting. That's why I want to focus more on corporate, because we bring the product to the client, we bring the service to the business themselves. So it's not just you go to a spa, you could get it done at your company. I had a lot of networking experiences with companies who are interested in bringing it into their work environment in terms of like a wellness kind of setting, something to boost the morale of their staff, that sort of thing. So that's why I just recently started thinking along that line. I don't want to just have a stationary place where someone can come to. I can actually do workshops and work alongside other persons who have that same mindset. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would suggest, honestly, you should probably check out Export TT's She Trades program. I think that's geared towards especially for your products, because there's a huge push like in the European market for those kind of products, natural based lotions and all of that. So I think you should probably check that out at Export TT. She Trades.
Okay.
Yeah.
And also you can look at the Export Action Program. I put the link on the chat already from the TTME.
Great. And I think it's a big part of entrepreneurship, a big part of your job as an entrepreneur is a lot of research going into it, because there's so many opportunities and sometimes you can get lost in them, right? So to figure out what is the right opportunities for you. So there's a lot of research going into it. So folks, this kind of brings us to the end, but I wouldn't want to stop there. So I want the panelists as well as you, Ron, right? Just to kind of give a one last minute a piece of advice around the theme for our attendees here as well. So David, you talked last, so I think you have to go first. Right? So David, and then we'll go with Tricia, Kieran, Keegan, and then end it off with Ron. Don't forget to unmute yourself, Dave.
So, yes, I would definitely say, as Shadwan was just saying, do your research, look at which financing product works best for you and your business. And so do look at that. Prepare yourself for financing, because there's a lot of work that needs to be done before you can actually, but I mean, now you can just call Tricia or email her. But before you actually get that seat at the table, you need to be prepared. You need to have your documents prepared, or at least attempt to start to get them prepared. Get to know your business, get to know your financials, and I would say make that leap. I always tell people, just make that leap. Somebody will believe in your idea. YBTT did at the early stages. So.
Thanks, David. No shameless plug for me. Tricia.
So David, first of all, thanks for that plug for Republic Bank. And to the entrepreneurs out there, our theme this year is entrepreneurship is for everyone. And it is, if you are passionate about an idea, go for it. Like David and Rachel, they had the tenacity, the drive. But as a banker, what I will tell you that will assist you along your journey is that try to open an account and make deposits as regularly as possible. Try to understand your financials. And whilst Republic Bank has relaxed our criteria and we say we don't need deposits to the account, we don't need it to have financials, but it's good to understand the finances of your business because many times businesses are open, the entrepreneur is passionate, but they actually have no idea of the inflows and the outflows, the true inflows and outflows in their business. So I'm asking the entrepreneurs here, ensure that you understand your inflows and your outflows, the money that comes in and out of your business. And please feel free to email me. I posted my email on the chat and I'm sure YBTT will be more than willing to share it if anybody needs it. Call myself or Atual Ali Kachem and we are there to help. And David, as David said, we are the people, our name is good on the SME streets, right, David? So we are here to help and we listen and we want to help. So feel free to call us.
I think one of the takeaways you always like to hear is not just where to go, but who to talk to when you go there. Right, Kieran, you can come in.
Sure. I'll go a slightly different direction and I would kind of stress the importance of networks, mastermind groups, coaching, and I don't mean kind of fixed tenor programs and then that's it. I mean on an ongoing basis. And so I am going to make a shameless plug for Inspire's community, which is intended to be exactly that, an ongoing system of holistic support, ongoing training, individual and group coaching that we're currently building out so that entrepreneurs have support all throughout the business life cycle.
Awesome. And folks, just to let you know, we are posting the survey in the chat, so you could please complete that. There's also a section there where you can ask any question that you may have for our panelists as well. So it's a way of not just leaving here without any questions. So feel free to ask here. So Keegan, you want to come in?
Definitely. So SMEs that are looking to export, the EXIMBANK is here for you. We have a variety of export financial solutions tailored to your needs. If you are need some advice, some consultation on taking that next step, we could also assist you with that. Those startups, those in the services sector, I strongly urge you all to continue networking, trying to learn as much information about different business support organizations where you could get support. Also at the EXIMBANK, we support YBTT. So this platform that we have today is partly through us, and we want to educate you, and we also want to put out there that Trinidad and Tobago has to move forward. We have to move forward in terms of creating a more export-oriented mindset. So those SMEs are looking to export. You are important to us. You all are the future in terms of generating and earning more foreign exchange. So continue on that path.
Yeah, and thank you again for the support from EXIMBANK as well. Ron, you want to take us home?
Yeah, no, it's been a pleasure. I mean, I think, I would just sort of stress, passion, having passion. I mean, as an investor, somebody who's listened to thousands of pitches, what shines through are people that are really passionate about their business, because passion generally translates into tenacity, translates to knowing your business. So I think I would say that, get to know your business, educate yourself. There are tons of podcasts, whichever form you like, read books, podcasts on business growth and how do you grow businesses from the start. So, in your free time, really invest some time in educating and building that knowledge base. A business plan. Again, may sound intimidating, but a business plan and there are templates online. Take a shot at it. Why? First of all, it's going to help you understand your business, because it's going to force you to ask yourself hard questions, and really going to give you a lot of guidance in how do you grow your own business and next steps. So, invest that time in growing yourself, knowledge, as well as the business.
And on behalf of YBTT, I want to thank you all for such a lively discussion. I know, we could probably take the entire GW month and talk about finance. But folks, you only had an hour and a half and we went over by 18 minutes. Right? So I do want to thank you all.
Once we do it for the people, that's important.
I want to thank you all for staying. Folks, as I always say, it's been real. It's been nice. It's been real nice. And we'll see you all next time. Next event. This is Global Entrepreneurship Week. You can check out all the different events and activities, not just happening by YBTT, but happening by throughout the entire ecosystem there as well. So feel free to look out for Global Entrepreneurship Week Trinidad and Tobago's page, YBTT's page, and you can get a listing of all the different events and activities from there. So folks, take care.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you all. Bye-bye.
Have a great evening, everyone.